Now, I'm going to do some Guild Wars 2 today, as we have a major feature patch coming up here. So I'll turn to some random video here while I wander around and yammer. Depending on the length of this video, I may just make this the first part, or I'll splice in the second part. I wanted to do a before and after of some of the old stuff, some of the new stuff. And unfortunately, ArenaNet, unlike most MMO companies, they do not offer a public test server, so I'm actually recording this on April 11th. The patch doesn't go live till April 15th, and so that's why I either have to make a second video or splice the changes in, because I can't compare on a test server. So here's some of the first stuff here. Most of this is just from their blog. They might be a couple things that some of the developers have just said that weren't on there. Probably not too much of that. But I'm going to wander around Divinity's Reach here while I yammer on about some changes. One of the first big things here is that they are going to be changing to a mega server system. Now, this is going to be starting up, but they are not going to fully implement this until nearly the end of the year. They're going to be starting this up in mostly cities and level 1 to 15 zones. And what this is going to do is it's going to try to fix certain population problems. Why is this tree selectable? I don't remember this. Oh, okay, that's cute. So anyway, some people have talked about implementing underflow servers, and that's sort of what we're talking about here. This will get some of those, especially mid-range zones, that nobody goes to, or the ones that don't have champ trains and things like that, to actually get populated again. That should be cool, but I have a few concerns about this, because there is an unofficial RP server on Guild Wars 2, which is Tarnished Coast, and it has a lot of people that RP there, and I've actually found, ironically, that on most MMOs that have an unofficial and an official RP server, the unofficial ones have a tendency to have more people actually there than the official ones, and as somebody who does wander to Tarnished Coast now and then, I'm a little concerned that this is going to hurt their rather big RP community, because it's going to be combining people with people from other servers. So while the other stuff is good, I'm kind of worried about that. The way that they're going to be combining this is actually prioritization. They are going to try to get you to be a little more social with people you see regularly. To facilitate this, you're going to be pushed in with people that are in guilds that you're in, and people you're already friends with, as well as people that have been in the zone recently to you. It will be keeping track of stats like that. But yeah, this is starting as a pilot program, which will be in level 1 to 15 zones to start, and I think they said cities early too. But the big thing that I think most people are thinking about, and mostly why I wanted to do a video, is they are doing one of the biggest mechanic changes since the game has come out, and that is they are changing traits. They're going to be a little bit more similar to Guild Wars 1, and you're going to be able to respec and change how you are all the time more often. Now, let me show you. That's at the right tab. Here's the traits the way that they are. Now, the way it is, you get every 5 points in, you get a trait. You get these little ones, which don't change. And then you have the big ones, which in the first tier you can get up to level 6. These go up to 10. These go up to 12. In the new system, this is going to be a little different. As it stands now, every point that you drop in here will give you plus, what is it, 10 or something to one of these stats? Yeah. Well, it'll give you some to... Anyway, when you drop some points into each one of these lines, it gives you a little bit to a couple stats. A little bit different depending on whether it's a percentage or a solid number. And then the last line always has something that's special to your class in it. They're going to be changing this, because what this is going to do in the new system is, I believe they said they're compressing this down from 70 points to spread around to 14 to simplify it. Hopefully this is okay. It still looks better than what World of Warcraft has went to more recently with their just picking active things out and dumping the old talents. That was kind of dumbing things down. I don't keep up with them too much anymore, though. I don't know what's going on with the new expansion, so don't slam me about that. But what they're going to be doing is, this is pretty much going to be the same, but these Adept, Master, and Grandmaster tiers, instead of paying for a book each time you unlock a level of these, that's going away. What's going to happen is you're going to start paying for books for each of these major traits, or doing achievements that earn these. We're not sure what the pricing is going to be like on it yet, so that's slightly concerning. But anybody who has character that has these open already, you're not going to be paying for them a second time. So if you don't want to have to earn this stuff later, you might want to be making your alts now. Of course, if I publish this video with a latter half at the same time, it may be too late. I don't know when this is going to get up. But yeah, the other thing too is they said that they are boosting the levels that these tiers unlock at. I don't remember how much it was, but I do believe that Grandmaster does not open until 80 now, and it used to open at, I think, 60. So this is going to make stats leveling up potentially harder, who knows, but the game is not that hard in low-level PvE anyway. So who's to say how much that's really going to affect things. But the other thing is that the new system wishes to encourage you to try more stuff. So what they're going to be doing is letting you do free respecs anytime you're out of combat, which is sort of similar to Guild Wars 1, except in GW1 you can only do it in towns. Also in GW1 you could save templates for your skills, which I'm hoping that they put in, because I don't think people really want to be clicking through this a bunch of times just to change their junk around when they have regular builds they use all the time. Let me see here. What else did I want to say about this? Oh yes, each line is getting a new Grandmaster trait. Every line of every class, so that is 5 new Grandmaster traits for each class. They said that we will be getting unlocks if we have an existing character for each of these major traits. We will be getting these unlocked automatically. I'm assuming that the new ones will not be automatically unlocked. I am hoping, however, that this doesn't force certain people to start trying to force their builds on people for things in dungeons and whatnot, especially in fractals, because sometimes people can get a little elitist, and I don't care who you are, you should be playing this game to have fun and play your way. You shouldn't be playing in some stupid cookie cutter build that you don't enjoy just because somebody thinks it's better. Another thing that they are doing to encourage you to play with this more too, in case you screw up your build really bad and do something big at level 80 like a really hard dungeon, is they are making repair costs free. Your armor will still break, but you don't have to pay for it. This is kind of cool. And it's not super expensive anyway, but if you screw up a lot, you don't want to keep paying for your screw-ups. One thing I think is going to be interesting too is that I haven't actually liked World versus World on this game as much as I did in Dark Age of Camelot, which is sort of the system that they mostly copied their World versus World ideas from. I think, well, I mean, it is different because, you know, you don't have dedicated Trinity classes like tank, support, heals, things like that quite as much. But I've noticed in this game that people don't zerg around. Well, I mean, they do zerg around in really big groups, but people will not rush into a fight as easily as they would in a game where they didn't have penalties. See, in a game like Dark Age of Camelot, if you died and got resurrected by a player, well, if you got killed by a player and then resurrected, you would have what used to be, when I played it a long time ago, resurrection sickness, which made you really weak for 5 or 10 minutes, but you didn't have to pay out a bunch of money every time you died. I think that this might make people a little more courageous because they don't have to risk as much money if they're going to charge in and be an idiot. So this might lead to people actually charging around more, and they won't be paying for teleports when they die either, because teleports in World versus World are free. People's opinions might vary on that. I think it might make people move around more, and I might enjoy it more. I don't know. I'll probably be taking a look at that more later on. I don't really do World versus World a whole lot anyway. Another new thing that they're doing is right now, you know, you got your gear here, and if you want to put a look on something else, what you have to do is you have to use a transmute crystal. And these have been kind of sloppy because there's two kinds. There's a blue and a yellow. And the blue ones only are, well, they work on anything, but they're made for level 80 items. And I think they cost a little more in the gem shop, actually. The yellow ones will work on anything below 80. The thing is that most zones, when you complete them, will give you 2 yellow stones. So depending on how many characters you have, and if you've completed the world, you might actually have a huge amount of these yellow ones. And if you're level 80, what do you do with all these? You don't know. Well, they have a new wardrobe system. And this is going to be cataloging all these skins that you earn, so that not only are you not wasting them in your bank, but you're getting these skins account-wide, so when you get stuff from Living Story, your new characters will have access to it. And this new transmute system, it's going to be using transmute charges. It seems like these charges are going to be built around the old crystals somehow. We don't have full details on that yet. But I don't know if the old crystals are really going to go away, because that would make it weird if you just wanted to use a crystal for moving like a rune from one item to another. But depending on how this transmutation system works, we might actually be able to get some charges out of the old yellow crystals. It might make them more useful. We don't know a lot of details on that yet, but it would sure be helpful if it did. But it sounds like the costs are going to be varied. Instead of just using one crystal, like something like a legendary skin could cost a lot more to use than some junk crafted armor skin from a low level, for example. So it should be helpful overall, and it is account wide, so every cool skin you unlock will be able to be used on other characters. Also, this should be saving people a lot of bank space. It really should. This is also going to change, though, how SPVP works, because in SPVP right now you have, well, let's go on over there and I'll show that. What you have is you have a PvP bank, and it catalogs your items in here, which are really just very basic items, and then you get most of your stats from the runes and whatnot out here. It's a little different than PvE. You got your different sets of stuff here. Yeah, see, you get almost entirely all of your stats just from whatever rune you're wearing. And then this bank, it stores these blank items, and then you go over to some shops and you drop some runes and junk onto them. These PvP items will now be dropped into your wardrobe, and it sounds like you're going to be able to use these skins that you earn here in PvE as well. However, it will now be costing you transmute stones to use these for PvP too. But your armor in PvP, it's going to keep track of what runes and junk are on stuff separately from PvE. They are also, this is slightly important if you do SPVP, they are getting rid of the SPVP crafting thing that you can do with the Mystic Forge over here, which means that you should make sure that you use these supplies up before the patch launches, assuming I get this video published early enough for you to do that, so that you can take advantage of potentially getting some better stuff. Also, more on this later. I kind of wrote my notes down in a funny order. Some of these vendors are going to be going bye-bye so that you do not have to talk to a bunch of them. There's going to be a new user interface for just picking what runes and junk you want on your armor so that you don't have to fuss with these people. So that would be somewhat handy. Let me see here. They're going to be making a new kind of strange reward track system, which is going to allow you to get some kind of dungeon rewards from doing SPVP. It's not super descriptive on how that's going to work yet. I want to see it. There's a couple pictures of the user interface of this. You're supposed to get experience in SPVP, and it gets you rewards. Not entirely sure how this works. Some of these reward tracks are actually supposed to reward Ascended and Legendary crafting components, so that should be neat. They will also be changing how runes and sigils work in SPVP. The core ones will remain the way they always have been, but there will be some new core and sigil types, which will actually be openable with either gold or and/or skill points. Another thing that they are changing, which will be nice if you decide you want to change characters a lot and have some different characters that use the same type of gear. Ascended and Legendary items of all kinds will now be account bound, so you should be able to change your jewelry, your armor, your legendary weapons around, which should be nice. Another thing that goes along with the wardrobe system that is coming in is that they are changing dyes. Dyes are now going to be account bound, which is funny that they are bringing this back, because these dyes are they used to be account bound in early beta, and then they changed the system. It used to be that you had to get these dye seeds, and then you took them to your home instance and you planted them, and they took like a day to grow, and then you'd get your unidentified dye out of it. Then they just made them drop off monsters, but made them character bound. But we're going back to the beta style a little bit. The growing your dye thing isn't there, but dyes are going to be account bound. For every duplicate you have between your characters, they are actually going to be sending you an unidentified dye, so that you can either expand what you have or sell them. As it stands now, I'm actually looking forward to this because this is my main character. I have a reasonable bit of dyes here, not a ton, But my other alts, they don't have as many colors because I kind of started wanting money more because a lot of the colors I liked were things that I could just buy on the market for less than what the unidentified dyes were going for. Once I started noticing that they were selling for 15 to 25 silver, I started to get excited to see these. As you can see here, we'll look this up. The price of these, since the announcement of the unidentified dye changes, has boosted all the way up to about 41 silver, 94 copper, so it's gotten quite a bit more. And these unidentified random dyes that cooks can make have probably gone up a bit too. The yellow, red, gray, and blue ones here, as you can see, are already really high. Part of the reason these are going to go up is they're changing it. The unidentified dyes are no longer going to drop from monsters, which is going to affect the market quite a bit. It sounds like the ones that are on the Laurel vendors are going to remain there. I forget how much those cost. I think the Laurel vendor is... Where is the Laurel vendor in this city? Ha 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 ha. Let me see the one that's over here. Whatever. I think it's like 5 for a pack of 3 to 5 or something. I don't remember for sure. I don't know these cities as well as I knew Lion's Arch. We haven't had it out. We haven't been able to use Lion's Arch recently. But that's okay. I'm not sure if we can go to this Laurel Merchant. It might be locked into that little funny area over here you need a pass for. The Lion's Arch being destroyed thing is kind of neat, though. It spreads people out into the other cities a little bit. I think, though, that when this launches without unidentified dyes being dropped... Yeah, I think he's back there. Without unidentified dyes being dropped, it's going to considerably inflate these costs because people are going to have to use laurels to get most of them, I think. They might still drop from big chest loot boxes, I don't know, but it sounds like they're taking them off monsters. They also said something about using the Mystic Forge to obtain them, and of course the specialty dyes on the gem store. But I don't know about the Mystic Forge too much. I think one of the people at ArenaNet said it was changing some of the recipes and that it was going to be a lot better than it used to be. We don't know too much about that yet, I don't think. Personally, the old way I'm not a big fan of because I don't like gambling with things in the Mystic Forge too much myself. But I can see these prices going up quite a bit. It is nice that they're going to be giving us some unidentified dyes for duplicates. I don't know how many I'm going to be seeing. I'm sure they're not going to give us a bunch for these duplicate starter dyes everybody's going to have, because that'd give us like, what, 3, 6, 9, 10, 20, what is it, 21 free dyes. That would be pretty awesome, but I doubt they're going to do that. Another thing that they are doing is, right now, and you can tell I don't do World versus World much. I haven't spent my points since the last time they reset them. Right now, you get World versus World ranks, and you can get these little abilities for spending these. Right now, these ranks go up very high. I think they said there's like 2,000 of these or something originally. As it stands now, those are character traits. But they will be changing to account bound next patch, and once you log in every one of your characters, it will be adding your World versus World experience points together, and you'll be able to get a lot more stuff if you do World versus World on various characters. I'm not sure. It says they're combining the experience. I'm not sure if what you unlock here will be per character or not, but the total amount of points you have will be per account. Another thing that they will be doing is adding a new looking for group section, which will be adding World versus World to it so that you can try to make groups on there before you get to end of things. So that should be a little helpful for making groups out there instead of just running willy-nilly with the Zerg. Hopefully it goes somewhere. They'll also be doing some critical damage changes. As it stands now, we have a percentage of critical chance as well as... where's the other one? This one? Yeah, critical percentage of extra critical damage. World of Warcraft, for years, they used to have percentages like this, and they eventually changed it to a rating system where so much rating would turn into a percent of this instead. ArenaNet is going to be doing something similar to this. They will be changing the rating style for both critical hit chance and damage. I'm hoping that this doesn't hurt crit builds too much, but it sounds like high crit builds are going to be damaged a lot. This is sort of probably in response to too many people using Berserker gear. I don't have a huge amount of crit on my engineer. I have a mostly balanced build here anyway. So who's to say what that's really going to turn into? I know my thief has a really high amount of crit, like up at 50%, so I'm probably going to get nerfed there pretty bad myself. Another big thing that they're changing is runes and sigils. Proc rates are going to be going up big time because they've found that they're unreliable. Some of these things, they say that they'll proc like 5% of the time, which is not a very good chance. What they're going to be doing instead is making the proc rate go up a lot. It looks like they will actually be going up somewhere in the vicinity of 50-ish% or something. And sigils will have less hidden information on them, such as cooldowns, which I think some of them might have that information on them already. Do you mind? Well, I don't have cooldowns on this stuff. Actually, wait, does that one have a cooldown? No. It's going to show cooldowns in some of these that don't show it, as well as showing things reminding you that if you put more than one of the same sigil on here, it's not going to work. I'll show you a little example image that they put in the blog of that shows one of those. Whoop! So there's the image now. And as you can see, it says right here that you cannot stack more than one sigil of the same type regardless of its rank, as well as actually making sure to show the cooldown. So whoop, we'll get rid of that. Another thing that they are going to be doing is these sigils on two-handed items will right now you can only put one sigil on a two-hand item, whereas if you use two one-hands, you get a sigil on each. That's changing. You will now be able to put two sigils on a two-hand item, giving you a little more variety to what you're doing. So that should be somewhat interesting. Now, older sigils, they also say, are going to be more balanced. Their example was that fire and air sigil, there's almost no reason to use air sigil. They have almost the same damage, but fire hits more targets, and they have the same recharge. So that's just silly. So what they're going to do is they're going to cut some of the recharge on the air sigil, and they're going to balance more things around like this. Hopefully they're better. And another thing that's cool is that on crit sigils, those are kind of weighted toward people that have an extremely high amount of crit, which is not going to be as good either with the new crit changes. So what they're going to be changing to with these is that crit sigils will actually be changing to on hit and doing something more like giving you like on a 60% chance to hit, let me rephrase that. Instead of having like a thing that goes off half a chance on crit, it's now 60% chance on a regular hit, but might have a longer cooldown or something. Another thing that they are going to be doing is related to dailies and monthlies. As it stands now, we have these dailies for both PvP and PvE, and monthlies for each. Now, as you can see, I haven't really been playing a lot this month. What they've been doing is, if you finish this, you will get a laurel. And if you finish this, you'll also get a laurel, but you can only get a laurel from one of these per day. And the monthlies are the same. You can only get the monthly bonus from one of these categories. You'll get other little items for completing the second of these a day, but not the laurel. To make this less confusing, you'll probably get less generic rewards, but this will be easier to achieve for somebody that does not have as much time in a day, or especially a month. They're going to be combining these sections, and what's going to happen is the PvE and PvE items will be in the same section, but you'll be able to complete like half in PvE and half in PvP to get your bonus for either daily or the month. So that will be a nice little change. And then I think we're moving up toward the last big changes that I could think of. We'll go into a little bit more of that next. I believe this video is getting a little long, so what I think I'm going to do is actually release this old part here first, and then I'll do a little bit of a video on what the new changes are next week. I believe Tuesday it is, on April 15th, when they put the new patch out. One last little thing that they're adding that's kind of silly is they are putting in a new drum instrument on the gem store. Let's get our little drum guy out here. Whoop. This is the silly picture they put out of this dude with the drum. The drum is going to allow you to play not just regular instrument sounds like, isn't there a flute I think they got another instrument in here. I'm pretty sure it's a flute. Let me see here. Flute? Isn't it a flute? Yeah, it's the flute. Yeah, you can play different notes and stuff. The drum's going to be similar, but it's going to have preset grooves, as they call it, that you can like play and run around with. This game doesn't have bards, so it will be kind of funny if somebody grabs a drum and runs around in your big Zerg in World vs. World playing some music or something. But a silly thing that they added too is that they will have user-made groove sets where you can save your little set of notes that they call a groove and play them back again. So you can make like your own little guild theme song or something. That should be pretty silly. But I guess I'll wrap that up, and I will see you on the new part of this, which should come out hopefully on April 15th if I'm not feeling lazy. So thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe if you liked listening to these patch notes, or comment if you thought this was droning and grueling and you don't want to hear anymore. Or if you have any constructive criticism, please let me know. This is Stylish Pancakes signing off, and I will see you next time, and hopefully put a big fat button on the end of this to tell you where to find part 2. Thanks for watching.